Okay, so I told you guys yesterday was just like the introduction to being able to do what we needed to do the rest of the week. Now, if you understood what we were able to do yesterday, today should be easy peasy. Okay. First things first, when we are factoring is like this unit as a whole is an introduction to what we're going to be doing after the next test, which is working with quadratic functions. Now, the way you're able to recognize a quadratic function, say you have a polynomial, multiple terms, multiple amount of terms, and out of all of those terms, the biggest exponent that you see on one of those variables is a squared. This is how you are able to recognize a quadratic function because the highest exponent is the number 2. Now, I'm not going to test you over that, but it is good to know for the future. Once we start the unit on quadratics, I'll go back over it and they're like, oh, okay, kind of makes sense, ties in together. Now, if you look at all of those variables, we have x squared and x, but we also have b and c. Typically, b and c has what other variable attached, or what other variables included with b and c? That's not present. What? Variable, a letter. Blank, B, C, D. What is missing? A is missing. A is missing. There is no A. In standard form for a quadratic function, it should be ax squared plus bx plus c. But there is no A in what we're going to be doing today. There's no A value. And since there isn't a number here, typically we would fill it in with what? That is because A is equal to 1. Now, we're not actually going to be filling it in. What we're going to be doing is we're going to try to see how to factor a quadratic function when it has 1, 2, 3 terms. What is 3 terms? Trinomial. We are going to learn how to factor a trinomial. Now, what I did yesterday was I gave you these diamonds. It was boxed around last time or yesterday on yesterday's notes. Notice how we had this diamond and I actually gave you the numbers. Well, today I'm giving you the trinomial, I'm giving you the expression, and you're going to have to set up that diamond yourself. Now, that is not a very difficult thing to do. You'll see in a minute. But like I said, if you're able to solve those diamonds or find the numbers that go on the side, today's going to be a breeze. Now, that top number was represented what? In the diamond. That top number was our product. That means we had to find 2 numbers that multiplied to get that top one, but those same 2 numbers did what to get the bottom one? So it was our sum, correct. Now to figure out where to put or what numbers to put and where to find our product and sum, easiest way to remember is grabbing that last number. And I always say the phrase, last number falls to the top. So whatever number you have at the end of your trinomial, that is what's going to go here at the top of your diamond, at the top of your X. Since this variable is technically a B, B goes on the bottom. There will be a number filled in. You won't always see a B, okay? B goes at the bottom. Now, when you solve these diamonds, when you find your answers, you end up with 2 numbers on the sides. Yesterday, I gave you C and B. Now you're going to grab C and B from the trinomial and set it up yourself. When you solve it, you end up with numbers on the sides. Those numbers could either be positive or negative. They could be both positive or they could both be negative. It doesn't matter. But if we end up with a positive number, what we're going to do is we're going to break that trinomial apart and create a binomial. And if it's a positive number, we're going to take that X and add that number. If it's a negative number, we're going to take that X and subtract the other number. Once again, this part here looks a lot more complicated than it will actually be. Now the steps to factoring these, the first step is always going to be to check for your GCF. What does GCF stand for? You're going to check for your greatest common factor. Now, because there isn't going to be a number here, and because there's never going to be an X here, you don't have to worry about that yet, okay? You set up your diamond and solve the puzzle. So let's get started with number one. I'm going to say the phrase and I'm going to repeat it over and over again because tomorrow there will be something in that spot. But the very first place you always need to check is in front of your squared term. Now, what do we have anything in front of that squared term? Meaning, do we have a coefficient here? No, since there is no coefficient, we can go ahead and set up our diamond. So what did I say earlier? Last number falls to the? Falls to the top. So 3 goes here at the top and the 4 goes on the 3 represents our product and the 4 represents our sum. Okay, so go ahead and tell me, what two numbers multiply to get 3, but at the same time add to get 4? What? 1 and 3. Did y'all say 1 and 4? No, never. Why would we say that? So 1 times 3 is 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. Both of those numbers are positives. Now, when we're setting up that binomial, when we're breaking this back apart, think about it. Observe it. Look at it. What variable are we working with? R. So we're going to break that R square apart. So I'm going to go ahead and put an R in the beginning of each binomial and then fill it in. These numbers here that we have, or the answers that we get from our diamond, are what we're going to fill in the binomial with. So that first binomial is going to end up being R what? Plus 1. And the second binomial will be R plus 3. And that is our answer. We have broken it back apart. Turn the page when you're ready. Okay. Example 2. On the STAR test, they're going to present these questions to you in this manner. It's going to say something about write an equation, something similar to write an equation equivalent to, and they'll give you a trinomial. Your answer choices are going to be in the form of 2 binomials, or sometimes it's going to be only 1 binomial, and I'll address that whenever we get to it. But here we go. So let's see. The first place you always check is in front of your squared term. Is there a number? Is there a coefficient? Yes or no? No. Now, another thing that they can add to this trinomial to try to confuse you is to add a name for it, meaning they could add f of x. They only do this to throw you off. F of x is no different than writing y equals x squared plus 11x plus 18. It's just assigning a name. It's turning it into a function. Okay, so just don't let that throw you off. Anyway, but since there is no number in front of our squared term, it's time to set up the diamond. Last number falls to the top. So I'm going to put my 18 here at the top. And what number goes at the bottom? The 11. Now the 18 represents the, and the 11 represents the sum. Now, for our friends that weren't here yesterday, or the ones that are having to watch this video, let's go back over. In case we don't know what the answers are, in case we don't know what the multiples of 18 are, what do? What did we learn to do in the calculator yesterday? We're going to write these steps again. How do you get to y1? Where do you go? You go to first, you go to what? Go to y equals. The first step is to go to y equals. Now, when you go to y equals, you will see the certain screen. That screen's going to have y1, y2, y3, y4, y5 down the side. And now what do we put? What do we type under y1? The product divided by X. Whatever number is at the top, the product divided by X. What do we put into Y2? X plus Y1. Now, if I don't know how to get to Y1, what numbers do I push? And I expect you guys to be writing this down because I had somebody asking me questions. I go back to look at the notes and guess what? They didn't write everything that I wrote down. Alpha trace what? Enter. And I'll show you guys on my screen as well. Once you're done typing both of those things in, where do we go? We look for the table, and to get to the table, we press second graph. And what are we looking for in that table? Correct. We're looking for Y2. What are we looking for in Y2? What number are we looking for in Y2? Not the product. We find the sum. Yeah, we find the sum in the Y2 column. Oh Lord, I forgot how to spell column. Hold on. We find Y2, we find the sum, which in this example, it's 11. The sum, we have to find that in the Y2 column. So let me minimize this a little bit, make it, there we go. That way I can grab my calculator, detach. All right, so I go to Y equals, turn on. I'm going to reset it. Was 7, 1, 2. All right. Can I at least move it that far over? All right. So go to Y equals. We see Y1, Y2. I type in the product divided by X in Y1, and in Y2, X plus. Now to put that Y1 in there, you press alpha trace, enter. And there's my Y1. Then I'm going to press second graph to go to the table, and I'm going to find that sum in the Y2 column, which is the very last column. And what number are we specifically looking for? 11. So what two numbers do we have beside 11? 9 and 2. So if you keep scrolling, say you just skip over the 9 or the 2 times 9, you'll end up finding 9 times 2 is also positive 11. You can put 2 and 9 and 9 and 2 flipped around. That's okay. That part doesn't matter. It does not matter what order you put that 2 and the 9. Okay. All right. Now that we have found that, I'm not going to go back over those steps again. Now that we've found that, we're ready to put it into our binomial. So what variable are we working with? X. So I'm going to put an X in front of each one. And since that is a positive 2, my first binomial is going to be X what? All right. Since my second number is positive 9, my second binomial is going to be X plus 9. Now, once again, they may not throw in that f of X in your answers just to throw you off, but same answer. Y equals X plus 2 times X plus 9. But that is your final answer. Ready? All right, next one. We're working with, it's always going to be the same question, write an expression equivalent, okay? We're working with the variable M. So what do you think they would throw in the front to try to throw you off? F of M, F of M, F of X because you're using X, F of M because we're using the variable M. I'm still looking in front of my squared term to see if there's a number in front, but there isn't. So I'm ready to set up my diamond. So I'm going to take that 14 and I'm going to move it to the, or yeah, it falls to the top. What number in the bottom? 9. All right. The 14 represents the product. 9 is the sum. All right, so now you go ahead and tell me what two numbers multiply to get 14, but add up to get 9. All right, I heard 7 times 2. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 plus 2 is 9. Good. So let's break this apart. And what variable are we going to put at the front of each binomial? M. The first binomial is going to be M what? And the second one? M plus 2. What else can they include in the answer? F of M in the front. Can, won't always. What's up? It doesn't matter if this one is M plus 2 and this one is M plus 7. That part doesn't matter. It's okay. If you end up with your 2 on this on the left and your 7 on the right, that's okay. Ready? Okay, so now that you know where the F of whatever comes from, I've already given it to you in example 4, F of Y. We're still going to look in front of our squared term. There's no number, so we're ready to move on. 8 falls to the top. And what number goes on the bottom? -6. So if you're going to do the, once you get into those negatives, that's where you guys start to mess up. So make sure you look for a negative, not a positive 6 in your calculator if you're going to use it. What's up? You already know it? All right, so what is it? Why'd you mumble? Are you not sure about your answer? Okay, so -2 and -4. -2 times -4 makes a +8. -2 plus -4 makes a -6. Let's split our binomial. What variable or what letter are we going to have at the front of each binomial? Y. My first binomial is going to be what? Y. And my second one? What can I have in the front? F of Y. I'm just writing that. I'm repeating that over and over just in case that is how they set up your answer. Okay. Might happen, might not. With what? Well, if you were to use FOIL or box method to multiply these back out, Y times Y is Y squared. So we're breaking it back apart is what we're doing here. All right, last one. F of W. I look in front of the squared term, there's nothing there. Last number falls to the top, but the last number is what? -15, so we got to be careful. That's my product. And that 2 is my sum. What two numbers can I multiply to get me -15, but add to get 2? Five times -3 is -15. 5 minus 3, or +5 minus 3 gives me a +2. Good. All right, let's break it apart, set up our binomial. What variable goes in the front of each? W and W. Now we have W with the +5, so how do we write that out? +5, and the second binomial will be? And once again, I'm gonna go ahead and include that F of W in the front, just in case. Now I had somebody ask me, do I need to include the F of X in my homework? If it has it in the original equation, go ahead and include it. But if it doesn't, like the example next to it over here, notice how this one does not have the F of M? You don't have to, okay? It all depends on whether it does have the F of X on it or not. Now, before I give you your assignment, I just need to address one thing. Let me pull it up though. I should have had it pulled up. Let me pause this. Okay, so this is your homework right here. It says, which expression, what? The microphone is like on. Which expression? Okay. Nope. Let me turn this down. No, it's look at 9 through 12 right here. It says the question is, which expression is a factor? What does a factor mean?
What?
If I'm asking you for a piece of paper, I'm asking you for how many? One. Now, when we solve these, let me F11 this. No. When we solve these, how many factors do we come up with? 2. So if I'm asking you for a factor, I'm asking you for how many of them? Just one of them. So you're still going to factor, but you're only one of these 2 is going to match. So I still want to see all the work, but only one of those 2 is going to match with your answers. Okay. And that is because, and I'm showing it to you this way because on the STAR test, you could come across one and it says which one is a factor of it. And you're only going to have one binomial. So I don't want you to be thrown off when you don't see both binomials. Okay. All right. And of course, Hagen missed everything.